All right. Week two, looking at your icon sketches, starting off with David, because you're here. This is the Tupe Mate tea, which is South American tea. Um, so you've got your sketches nicely placed into the InDesign template, and you supplied me the template. It doesn't look like a screenshot, so it's a little hard to see, a little faint. You did some research, and you found out that in South America, they drink tea out of these kind of unusual gourd-like teacups.
Yep.
So I see this one here, and then there's another one here. Is there a difference between these two?
Yes. The number one has like a lip around it, like a ring,
Yeah,
uh, and it's more of a circle. This one is kind of like made out of a actual uh, shell.
right.
So this is number two is just kind of hollowed out with a
Hmm.
cut in the top.
Okay. And you got some of the jungle leaves here, and then
Yep.
a sort of sunrise with the jungle leaves.
Yep.
This one almost looks like a honeycomb, but it's the tea cup.
Yep.
What's going on in here, number six?
Number six, that would be the M for mate.
Ah,
Underneath. That's kind of where I would place like the word logo. Um,
yes.
you know, below the leaves.
Right.
So all incorporated.
And this is a
Lotus
lotus.
flower.
Mhm. This one is the
Ohm.
Om, right? Uh, this is another leaf. All right.
And number
So,
10,
yes,
I,
go ahead.
I know number 9 and 10 are pretty much the same,
Hmm.
but I figured if number 9 is just a standalone leaf, then 10 could be encompassed in a circle to complete wholeness, you know, something along those
Right.
lines.
Okay. That's good thinking. Um, number 11 appears to be a plant.
Well, it would, instead of just the two or three little leaves or a single leaf, it would be a whole branch of the leaves.
Hmm. And this is a couple leaves.
Yeah, this would be more abstract. The stems of the leaves would just be background. The only thing that would actually be colored would be the petals themselves or the leaves themselves.
Right. So, David, you did some good sketches, and this is what I would call more a visual exploration because you're sort of drawing objects related around it, leaves and teacups. But what I want you to get to is more of an icon. So, for instance, if you use this teacup, could you make it sort of like a dual image? Like, is it something else as well? Um, I wouldn't use this because this is already sort of a logo in itself,
Okay.
number 8. And the leaves, I like your thinking about number 10, which makes it more powerful in a way. Um, number 4 looked like a good idea.
Okay.
You did such a good job drawing this. I just number 2. I wish it was more of a thing like does it have a face or personality or
Well, what I could do a couple things. Inside the gourd, like in the on the face of it,
yeah,
I could do like the word logo that we're going to create, kind of like
yeah.
number 6 with the M. And then as with the straw, I could incorporate like that as the stem of the leaf.
Well, it being a leaf and a teacup as as a dual image, I think that that's a really interesting thought, and you should explore that. Don't put word
Okay.
mark in the icon though, because
Okay.
that won't work. So consider that as one idea. Number 4 as another idea, um, and then I do kind of like where you're thinking with number 10. So those would be the 3 ideas I would pursue, sort of to the next level. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yep.
All right, cool. All right. Andrew is here waiting. Andrew, did you submit work?
Yes, I did.
All right. Are you in this section or?
That doesn't look like my class, no. Yeah, it's under this one. It should be the second one submitted. Yeah.
There we go. All right. So you got Osiris coffee, the coffee that brings you back from the dead. Uh, you've already customized your presentation template with your color, which is pretty cool. These sketches are really clear and easy to see. One thing, just to make this look a little better, you can select all these picture frames and change the background to none, and you'll get rid of all those gray bars.
Oh, that's good to know. Thank you.
Um, so you did some research on Egyptian culture. You've got sort of a scarab, the staff. I forget what this thing's called. The fly swatter.
Yeah, I have it underneath the crook and flail.
Crook and flail. Okay.
Yeah.
This is the Osiris, god of the dead, maybe. Yeah. Number
Yeah,
3.
well, he's a god of a lot of things, but yeah, the afterlife is like the
Yes.
main one.
The Ankh with a couple of Egyptian-looking columns. This looks like a headdress with the O for Osiris. This is like
That's
the O with
supposed to,
a
yeah, it's supposed to be like an eye, but it was
like
horribly
like an eye,
drawn eye. Like the in like the
like
like
number
yeah, like
9.
the eye. Like kind of like I guess the CBS logo, is it? Like with the circle with the eye in it, but then having the
Yes, right.
crook and
Okay.
flail. It's just not very well put together.
That's all right. No, this is a good creative exploration. You're trying to reconfigure existing things into different sort of shapes and different objects. Um, this number 11 looks very powerful. I like that. This, I'm not a fan of like reusing onks and
Symbol,
stuff, but
yeah.
you've done a good job with it there. I like number 12 as well. Number 10 is sort of a component of number 12.
Hmm.
So those are 2 good ones. Um, the this one is interesting. It looks a little frightening considering that you're going to drink the stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So one of
Yes.
their like main points was that they wanted to be dangerous and
So I
like
think you
powerful and
captured
stuff.
that there. Here's
Yeah.
here's what I would say. If you could
Okay.
give this character a little more personality so that they had more of a sort of irreverent tongue-in-cheek look, you know, and weren't quite as frightening, I think that
Okay.
is a possibility. So where I'm
I
at
can work on that.
is number 3, number 11, and number 12.
So
Professor
I've
Wood has joined us. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh, that's fine. I just have a question about 11. So I'm really partial to 11 as well. I liked how it turned out, but
Hmm.
I don't think it like really represents what the brand is going for.
Yeah,
So like,
absolutely.
I mean, we don't have like an actual brand representative to say yes or no. Like, would that
I
be a
I
factor that I should take
100%
in?
yes, I 100% agree with your assessment because this is sort of like an energy drink, you know, like it brings you back from the dead. Pyramids are very sort of stable, you know, like unmovable image.
Mm,
So I think that your assessment is really right on.
all right. Thank you.
So that doesn't leave you with much to go on. I mean, I think it's visually arresting and it's well done in that respect. I think that's what drew me to it. I do like number 10, which is like a coffee cup, the eye, and an ankh all sort of combined into one unusual, weird shape.
Yeah, the that shape is the what's it called? The astrology symbol for Osiris.
Yeah, right. So try this, number 10, number 12, and number 3.
Okay, I can do that.
Sabrina, sorry, do you have any, I didn't mean to cut you out. I just sort of started a
No,
little
I'm
early.
sorry. I'm sorry for joining late. I was just got caught up on something. So I'm here now.
That's all right. Uh, Bryant is here. Let's see. Bryant, you're in, I think you're in section 2. Did you submit something, Brian? I can never remember what section people are in. There you are. Brian, you here?
He
Yes,
said
maybe
yes.
no. Okay. Sorry, I can't see the chat
He's
window.
trying to
Hold on.
get his mic to work.
There we go. All right. All right. So Bermuda tea, which is very English tea from Bermuda. So right away, when people say Bermuda, you think of the triangle. So you've got several with triangles. You've got a sort of initials BT. This beautiful flower looks like orchid. This looks like a cup with an
He
afro.
said it's the national flower of Bermuda.
Oh, nice. Okay. This looks like almost like a Maltese cross. Just zoom in a bit. So your sketches are sufficient, good. You could just take these images into Photoshop and make them more high contrast. You know, if you're scanning these from pencils and you know it's just a little bit dark. But bow tie, often thought of as a symbol of sophistication, and this looks like a regular tie. I'm not reading.
So you're saying that the Afro Cup is a double image? One of the key words is British as well as royal, so it's the headwear of the Royal Guard.
Those beaver skin hats.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes, the Buckingham
Okay.
Guards wear. Yes. All right.
And can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So if you have, I can explain things a little bit better now.
All right. Cool. The crown jumps out as an interesting idea. I think that it has to be, you've got sort of a Bermuda triangle built into it. So if you sort of emphasize that it's like two things in one, like, or a different kind of crown, I think that could work as an idea. The flower is a wonderful image, but you're not really kind of using it in an icon-like way. Like just putting it with a teacup doesn't seem sufficient. The sort of monogram, I mean, a monogram might be an interesting idea because it's a very formal British kind of thing with the triangle, but this would have to be a lot more sort of visually arresting than what you've got right now. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Do you have thoughts, Sabrina?
I like the variety of images I'm seeing. So I like that, you know, he really listened to the lecture well with the idea of, you know, negative space and
Yes.
all of that. So yeah, he's got some good options here. I'm wondering, like with the crown, if some of those negative spaces, you know, with the triangle, some of the darker spaces, maybe could be like tea leaves. I don't know. But yeah, there's a lot of good ideas. And I would just stay away from like the trite ones that look like cups. So.
Yeah. So if you can develop number 1 further, that would be one idea. Number 9 could be an idea with some additions and options. And then I would say you could take the flower image, and if you can figure out how to make it more of an icon or 2 images in one or something, maybe it's
So like if you take like number 2 and number 3, like the size of number 3, but coming outside of the triangle, breaking,
Yeah.
you know.
So combine those two. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So take image 2 and 3, do the crest triangle shape, but also have the flower kind of
The petals
breaking it, the power.
Yeah.
Okay.
So good work. All right. Stephanie's here, but Stephanie, you didn't submit anything yet?
No, I haven't. I'm getting my stuff together now.
Okay.
Research and whatnot.
All right. This week's going to go a lot easier than last week. I'm just projecting positive thoughts for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know what? It was kind of one thing after another with that other project. It was on top of the problems that you knew about when I was doing my color separation, or when I was doing my colors. Some of the colors were going into the wrong places, and I was trying to get it all worked out. It was a little frustrating.
Well,
but
for the most part, you did the right thing, sort of reaching out for help, and that's what we want to see, so that you got through it. So
yeah. Well, thanks, y'all. And, yeah, I like reached out to probably all of y'all and got a lot of help. Thanks so much.
that's what we live for.
I know that's right.
We're here to help. I hate when people struggle on hours on end without knowing, without reaching out. And we could have just helped you. All right. So
Yeah, at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do this tomorrow. I can't.
you never know. We might be awake. I don't know. Sabrina. Check Slack at 3 in the morning to see if anyone's looking for help. All right. Let's go back to our critique. We're going to look at Megan. You're doing Olympic coffee. I won't go through all of these because a couple sort of jump out at me. I typically don't like coffee cups, but this number 5 really looks kind of cool and interesting. I also like number 11 with the winged cup. Beans, not so great. So there's 2 there that I like. What do you think, Sabrina?
I kind of went to the same too.
Yeah.
Like I said, I would recommend staying away from things that are obvious and trite, but the way that they've done the fret, the Greek key on that rim, and the fact that the surrounding shapes are unique, it really brings a different light to that shape, that idea. And then this idea of like these Nike wings coming off the cup, I think is clever. So I was kind of drawn a little bit toward number 7 as well, but
Yes. All right. I could see that because it's kind of the steam from the cup is creating the center of the coffee bean. Yeah. So consider that. So you'd have number 5, number 11, and number 7 as sort of the 3 options you're going to go to the next step with. Let's see. And
one thing though that you may want to consider is that you've drawn the cups like they're teacups.
yeah,
So you may need to revise that to more, a
coffee mug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So think about that.
Look at Megan. Ooh, nice work. That's the kind of support we like to see. All right. All right. So Cheryl, you are doing peace cookies, which are a sort of new agey cookie with sort of messages that are inspirational. So I saw you had trouble with the template, and Anne very correctly said there's a video that shows you how to do that. So thank you, Anne, for answering that for me. All right. So looking at these, you seem to be stuck in doing a lot of word marks and adding and using the cookie in unusual ways. I wouldn't be so literal with just the cookie. You seem to be drawn to creating fun characters. I don't think that that's a bad idea. I don't know that you've executed it quite right so far. Think of it more symbolically as an icon, so that it's not a literal cookie, but you could have a character, you could have a flower, a plant, something that sort of symbolizes the peace, the new agey message, things like that. Do you have additional thoughts, Sabrina?
Yeah, I mean, I think, when you come up with 12 original ideas, like the characters to me almost represent one idea.
Yes.
And then, so just, think about expanding the horizon of your ideas when you go with that. And I think when we, what was it, the second or third page where you did the keywords?
Yes.
That can really help you generate ideas. So that, as well. So.
I would say if worse comes to worse, I would just copy those keywords and paste them into Google search and look for images and see what comes up. It can just sort of like kick off a different direction. Oh, there's cookie with hair, not the most appetizing I like your idea of characters. So, but maybe it's not a cookie character; it's some other kind of character. Yeah. So you're thinking about representing the brand idea, not just pictures of the product and words. All right. So, Anne, so you're doing oyster soap, which is a natural Japanese beauty product. The geisha is a terrific image for that. I wish it was, you have to figure out how to make your geisha unique so that it's not just a picture of a geisha, because that's good generic. You want to give it your own thing. Number 9 jumped out as an amazing. It's the pearl, kind of looks, I think is, what I'm seeing is like the sort of a pearl and an oyster shell, but it looks like an eye. Do you see that, Sabrina?
Oh, now I do.
If you could sort of,
I was seeing more like, Japanese prints, with the
yeah.
water. So
I think there's area to explore. Right now, it feels a little more like an illustration than an icon. So you've got to sort of figure out how to finish that off. If you do, mermaids are terrific, but they're used so much for different things. And then some of these are just sort of visual exploration. So, for instance, just to help you be creative, what if number 1 and number 10 were combined in some way so that the bonsai was a geisha, and I don't know how that looks, but that's, explore that. The pearl in an oyster is just sort of a visual exploration. So like, again, if you come up with something that looks more like something else with an intriguing double image, that would be really good. Maybe the mermaid gets combined with something that's particularly Japanese.
it seems like the hair flowing could really, make something, even, like if there were cherry blossoms or I don't know, just I know you're trying to get into the pearl, but so maybe if her hair terminated and pearls or something, I don't know.
Yeah, so you take your mermaid to the next level and combine it with some Japanese imagery, and I think that you have some good ideas there. I'm just really glad you didn't give us bars of soap and bubbles, because that's typically what we get. All right, Daniel. Shanghai cookies. These are fortune cookies that have irreverent, sort of funny sayings. You've given me some chocolate chip cookies and a basket. It looks like you're exploring some of the Chinese imagery. So like this, I think that's that tower in Shanghai. That might be something interesting to go with.
That's the one that stood out most to me.
Yeah. And see, so this is sort of combining some iconic imagery. These other things are just, like a cookie with a face, or don't give me chocolate chip cookie. It's not Chips Ahoy. Mount Fuji, which is in Japan, maybe not so much. The dwelling. All right, so you're still sort of doing some visual exploration. You need to think more kind of symbolically of what ideas could represent this brand. Give it some personality. Maybe it's an animal character, or a person that has this sort of reverent attitude. But right now, I'm not really seeing a lot other than number 4 that could work.
Yeah.
And just to go over to the assignment for a minute. So let's see. This video, brainstorming ideas for your logo icon, is intended to help you come up with ideas if you're stuck with creativity. So make sure you watch that. All right. We did David. All right, so we're on to, I think this is your section, Brianna.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so chunk soap, Brianna, which is like a blue collar, tough soap for guys who work on cars and work in the woods and have dirt under their fingernails. So that's the imagery we're looking for. You've got a lot of sort of word marks and using initials. And I just point out in the assignment, like this, there's an icon and there's logotype. First step, draw the icon. That's all you're doing. You don't have to worry about the type until the next step. So no more word marks. And
So I see things that kind of almost remind me of Michelin Man or something.
yeah,
I'd like to see a little bit more exploration. You know, how can you render it other than showing, you know, muscles or
yeah, look at, what is that clothing company? It's named after a place in Minnesota. Duluth Trading Company. Right, Duluth Trading. This is kind of like your brand. I'm just showing you this for inspiration. So we'll go to their webpage. So I didn't know what I was going to see here, but yeah, they sell clothing for lumberjack, also women who work, people who are hardworking. There's kind of fun imagery. There's a little bit of texture back here. This is nice. But you got to get into the culture, the men's shop. Funny illustrations. Yeah, so maybe have some fun with this. That's just one brand I can think of that's kind of like yours. There are others. This could be a lot of fun as a product because it's kind of an extreme but sort of gender stereotype. So you have some fun to play there. And steer away from bars of soap, definitely not words or initials. And I know you probably feel, you know, like your drawing skills are not that great, but if you can sort of just get a pen, a thumbnail that gives us the idea, we're looking for the ideas, not drawings. All right, Andrew, we did. Thank you, Andrew. Shade, Kuko's chips. All right, so these are plantain chips that are seasoned with lime, and they're like a vacation for your mouth. So if you're, you know, stuck in Duluth in the winter, and instead of eating Pringles, you eat Kuko's, and you feel like you're on vacation in the Caribbean. That's the idea behind it.
so,
What
yeah, I think
yeah.
again we're just seeing a lot of the like obvious products. The number 10 I think is one of the more creative ones. It almost has a face-like appearance.
Yeah, like the Pringles guy.
Uh-huh. So I think I just like to see more exploration, like in that area where it's not so obvious. That, you know, here's the product and, you know, I'm going to draw it. So just, you know, and then remember to not use type in this sketching phase when you're doing the icon mark.
Right.
So to help you think of just a, you know, a clean shape that, you know, that you can speak to. I don't really have much more to say. Do you?
Well, I would say the one thing I always say with Kuko's is like, who's Kuko? What does Kuko look like? Is Kuko a human? Is Kuko an animal? Be creative with that. What does Kuko do for fun? Kuko's selling you chips on the beach. Like, what's that look like? Think of that whole sort of picture. Plus, you know, this isn't like selling medicine or something. You're selling fun and fantasy. So think about vacations to the Caribbean and what that means, especially if you're like in a super cold environment. So it should be a lot more free and fun than having to render plantain chips, which these aren't even shaped like plantain chips. They're shaped like Pringles.
Mhm.
All right. Ashley, Sweet Tooth Gummies. So these have a sort of anime, Japanese, I forgot the word I used, it's the cuteness.
Kawaii?
Yeah, that's it. Kawaii. And so when I think of that, right away, number 11 jumps out. Bingo, nailed it. There you go. There's one. This one looks like the coronavirus, so don't do that.
You didn't go there, did you?
I don't know. Well, what do you see? We see number 8.
I do see a virus.
Yeah. All right. So your tooth as a character, done. That's number 11. All these rest of these are redundant. Number 6, number 9, number 10, number 12, number 8, sort of redundant. Don't use initials or word mark, as we've said. And so you got to come up with some more ideas, and they no teeth. They could be characters, but not a tooth character. And I think you've got the style a bit, so you just have to sort of come up with some more, break out of the tooth, so to speak. We can't handle the tooth. Sorry, old movie reference. All right. Is that helpful? You have any thoughts, Sabrina? Sorry.
No, I mean, it's hard to comment when you don't get a lot of variety. So
Stephanie said, could be the sugar bug. Yeah, I don't know. I like that term, sugar bug. Like, what does that look like? So have some fun with that. All right, that is section 2. I think that. All right, now this is. So we've got sketches not in the template, just separate posts of each sketch. This is by Enrico. Enrico. Just no, that's not Enrico. Or yeah, it is. Is it? It's confusing. All right. You don't have to give a separate post for each one. You just have to render the sketches pretty clearly and put them in the template neatly. So you're doing Big Easy Cookies, which is a cookie from New Orleans, the Big Easy. And New Orleans has enormous amount of imagery and all kinds of things associated, none of which is represented here. I don't see that anywhere. I also see a lot of word marks. Remember, look at the assignment, read it carefully, watch this video, and then dive into your sketches. I think you got to start over. Make sure you understand your creative brief. Chocolate chip cookies and oven mitts are not this brand in any way. Stephanie wishes she had your brand. All right. Yeah. So explore New Orleans culture, Mardi Gras, the Big Easy, all that. You'll see some cool imagery that you can draw upon to create an amazing thing. This cookie is just chock loaded with all the stuff that's bad for you. So it's really not for people who are watching their weight.
I haven't eaten lunch yet. You're not helping.
I know. Well, this has got nuts and chocolate and butterscotch and oatmeal. No oatmeal. Sorry. Yeah, so more thinking. Lindsay. Wacky noodles. So this is sort of a fun kids lunch product. Wacky noodles. They're like ramen sort of, but mac and cheese, like picture ramen mac and cheese. So now you're going to lose your appetite. There is a lot of fun creativity going on here. The mouse, because the mouse likes cheese, that's a great idea. Here's a cheese wedge character made of a huge block of Swiss cheese. There's some bowls with faces on them. And the letter W and the word wacky, so I wouldn't do any of those. Number 5 could work. I feel like I don't like him in the bowl, like a jacuzzi, because that's kind of gross. Well, there's Mr. Cheesehead in the bowl. These are really fun, and I applaud your creativity. But as far as making a functional, good logo, somewhere between 5 and 6 is one. I think number 10 could work. I love this is what I'm talking about with personality. Just a few lines and all are where you got a great character going for this bowl of noodles.
That was the one I was leaning towards.
Yeah, this is the most sort of functional too out of all of them. And then 9, perhaps. I would love for the character to be a little more dynamic, maybe not sitting in the jacuzzi, but more personality, kind of like this one. So you've got 3 good ideas there: mouse, cheese, and bowl. Good work.
Mhm.
These, you could replace these. Think of some more ideas and replace some of these, because this is not really, this is how it works. You see the progressive thinking. So start off with some forks, and eventually you get really creative and there's some fun. Any other thoughts, Sabrina? I'm sorry, I keep talking
No.
over you. I'm so used to you doing this alone.
It's all good.
All right, that's all we got for today. We'll be back tomorrow for more fun with logos.